what it should be. Oh no, it went through.
Yeah, the encoding on the hardware should be okay.
So it seems like we are going live. Oh, good.
Hooray. We're live.
We need to move the camera a little bit up. I wonder if they can hear us. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if there's the sound. 1, 2, 3. No, that, yeah, we should have the sound. So let's see. We need to open the video on the phone and see if we can hear it. So let me raise the camera a little bit up.
Are you with us, everyone? Are you with us, everyone?
Yeah, good.
We're double checking all the things right now.
Everyone? Yeah, good.
We're double checking all the things right now. Okay, we're gonna not do that craziness there.
Is it good? Is it better?
Give us 1 second. Bear with us. We're handling technical things here. Yes, perfect. Yes,
Okay.
that is good. That looks about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we need to open the chat. And I think we're gonna be good to rock and roll. Just a few more seconds. We need to go to... Hey Brian, let's do some talking. Entertain the people.
Hi everyone. How you doing? I'm Brian. I'm with FrenchPressCoffee.com. This is Igor right over here, the founder, coffee extraordinaire of all things French Press Coffee. And we're just getting some things set up here. Yay!
We can hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a chat going on, so I'll let you be here.
Yes, let's switch. Change places. Hello, King Huzzah. How are you? Nice to meet you. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to give some other folks a few moments to catch up here and filter in, get into the chat room and things like that. And we've got 6 folks, so if you're out there and you're watching, please say hello. Say hi to us in the chat. We'll make sure to chat with you. Make sure that we're saying hello back, because we're trying out our live stream again. We've live streamed before. The last time we had a little bit of trouble. I'm not sure if anyone out there also does any kind of live streaming. I've done a lot of it on a lot of different formats, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. It's a lot easier on most of those platforms. YouTube is a little harder to configure, so we changed a few things today. I think we're happier with our setup now.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna answer some questions, and let's let everybody why we're doing this and what it is about, and
Yep.
I think it's gonna be helpful for them to know why we're doing this. So
Yeah.
basically, hi guys, I'm Igor and this is Brian. The reason why we're doing this live stream is we want to show to you today how to we take the science approach to coffee, and we gonna talk about how to make the best coffee at home, what you need to know about it. We just finished recently a great video where we go in depth and we were talking about 4 key ingredients which will affect your coffee. So for example, it's how do you grind your coffee? That's number 1, right? The brew time, the coffee to water ratio, and water temperature. How all those components, this is not all, but this is the major components which will affect your coffee, how it tastes, And if you know this simple foundation, simple basic, it doesn't matter which method you're gonna use, French press, pour over, Hario, whatever, you're gonna always get amazing results because you will know what to do. It's like cooking steak. If you know which temperature, like, if you want rare, you go to 135, and you need to know this basic foundation, and it applies to coffee. So that's what it is about great coffee, how you do it. You're welcome to ask the questions. That's why
Yeah,
we're
please.
here. We did make announcement yesterday, and we're gonna start with those questions first. And as we go, you can ask the questions. We're live, and if 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 you guys want to like talk about something else, let us know. But we would like to focus on coffee today. So
That is what we do best. So
yeah, so let's go to
I'm gonna
the
get our
questions.
questions.
Yeah, let's.
And you can ask your questions in the chat, which I think is over here in this case. So you can ask us questions there if you would like. Hello to you folks who are coming in just now to tune in. We appreciate it. If you missed our intro, again, this is Igor of French Press Coffee. I'm Brian of French Press Coffee. And we're going to answer some coffee questions that we got yesterday, and then we're going to answer any other questions that you guys may have in the chat for us. We've got a few French presses in front of us, obviously, and we'll talk about these a little bit as we go along, and how we're breaking down the four components that really affect the cup of coffee that you're going to get, not only from a French press, but also from brewing and just about any other method.
Yeah. So question number 1 by Matt. I'll let you to read this question.
Sure. So Matt says, my biggest question is, how much coffee do you use for French press and pour over? Is there a certain tablespoon amount per cup? That's a really good question, actually.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. So this is very common question. Basically, Matt is asking coffee/water ratio. This is excellent question, but we'll go back again to those 4 basic things. Is the grind size. That's basically how many microns it's, or how fine or coarse you grind your coffee, because this will affect your brew time. And then we're gonna talk about water to coffee ratio. So French press is usually, we all heard about 4 minutes. And why
It's the
this
magic
is,
brew time.
yeah, why is 4 minutes? And then when you go to pour over, why it's like 1 minute or 1.5 or 2 minutes? So when we talk about brew time, it really depends on the grind size. So the smaller particles, the less time they need to be in contact with water to extract those solubles, the oils and caffeine, that stuff we need out of coffee. Where usually the French press is require coarse grind, and we were talking about 1200 microns, 1600 microns. That's what usually recommended the coarseness for the French press. So the larger coffee particles, they require longer brew time. So that's why when you make French press coffee, you would use coarse grind, and you're gonna put those coffee grinds into the French press, and you're gonna add the hot water, and you're gonna let them to brew for about 4 minutes. The recommended ratio is 7 grams for each 4 ounce of coffee. Why is that? Again,
Water.
Water.
7 grams
Yeah,
per 4 ounces of water.
yeah, sorry. 7 grams of coffee for each 4 ounce of water.
And the average French press starts about as small as 8 ounces and goes up to, in the case of some of the ones we have here, 44 ounces. So in that case, you can just kind of do the math as it is.
And this is, I just want to make a quick disclaimer. A lot of people, they use measuring spoons, and they're great. They're awesome. But they are not exactly accurate. So we measure it, for example, 1 tablespoon um, measuring cup would get about 9 grams of coffee. So if you want to be accurate, we would recommend you, it's under, we would recommend you to get the scale because that will add the accuracy. And they're not expensive, but this is how usually you would start to find your perfect balance. We don't recommend like this particular scale, but with the scale, you will be able to measure the coffee amount and the water amount, I guess. Simple tool. If you don't have the scale, yeah, you can go back to measuring spoon and you would need some kind of measuring cup so you will know exactly how much coffee and how much water are you making. Because coffee slash water ratio is very important. If you have more coffee grounds than what you usually than needed, your coffee profile gonna be completely different than if let's say you put less coffee than what you needed. So you have to, and the 7 grams of coffee for each 4 ounce is not the magic number. That's something has been developed for many years, and you can add or remove. So you can start with 7, see how it tastes like, because for lightly roast coffee beans, you may want to add some more. For medium roasted, you probably want to stick with 7 grams for 4 ounce and start from there. But always keep in mind that if you change something, you need to change one variable. So if you want coffee to be more on stronger side or more bold, then add more coffee. So use 8 grams or 9 grams for each 4 ounce. But don't change coffee. I mean, don't change the coffee grounds, coffee amount, and the water amount at the same time,
Right.
because then it's hard to troubleshoot. So,
Right. You always want to. I mean, I've said this on a lot of our videos, which is that taste is really subjective and flavor is really subjective, meaning that it's up to you in the long run. So there's no perfect way to do just about anything except for what you find works really well for you. Like I've found that I use usually the 7 gram method for the most part, but you can get a little lazy about it sometimes because let's face it, like we all wake up, we need coffee. If you didn't plan it the night before or anything like that, you may just end up throwing coffee into your French press and just making it right then and there. And that's okay, but if you're trying to be really specific about the flavor profile that you want, it's really good to get pretty mathematical about it. Spend a little time measuring. If you get a scale like this one from Precision is really quite good because this
it's
will
not the coffee scale. It's like
No.
food scale, but
Yeah.
it gives you the tool to measure um, coffee and water more accurate than if you would use like a measuring spoon or
Right.
measuring cup.
And you can measure in ounces, you can measure in grams, and so that'll let you figure out exactly what it is that you're putting into your French press, and then you can start to just, it's good to take notes, and you guys may have seen a video that we've done in the past where we got really in depth into the type of grind that we could get out of different grinders, and we were measured in microns to be able to know what it was that we were getting out of that grinder in order to then be able to figure out how that was going to really affect our coffee. And I mean, we used to say this thing where we would say, well, you can always add a little bit more in order to make it stronger, which is true, but just adding more coffee all the same is not necessarily going to give you stronger coffee. People oftentimes think that just because you have more coffee, suddenly it's going to be a stronger cup or anything like that. That's only partially true because it does have to do with the other components that we're talking about here. The grind coarseness versus how fine it is going to make a big difference, but it's also your coffee to water ratio, and your brew temp is going to make a big difference for you there. And then what you're using to filter and how you're extracting, because your extraction process is really going to differ, and that's where your French press comes into play, or if you're using pour over or something along those lines. So it's not just one component that changes everything.
Yeah.
Because if it were, that would just be too easy.
It's very complex. So let's move to the next question. Thank you, Brian, for explaining all this.
Thank you, Matt, for asking very much.
So what we're gonna do is that for people who just join us right now, I just want to repeat this. If you have questions, please submit them in the chat section. We do live stream. We can talk with you. We can answer your questions. Also, if you can share this video right now on your Facebook, tell, hey guys, there is guys from FrenchPressCoffee.com streaming live. Have coffee questions, hop in and share it. So we would appreciate if you would do that. And we're going to the next question from Jason.
Jason, thanks for asking, Jason. Any tips for getting all the liquid out of an Espro P5? It seems like there is always some that can't pass the filter.
Yeah, so this is an excellent question.
Nice.
So Jason is asking about Espro press. This is the Espro press, and for people who don't know, the Espro press has the unique filtration system in comparison to, let's say, the Freeling French press. No, that's fine. This here. This is the classic mesh filter right there, and this is the Freeling French press, and we're gonna talk about it. But this is the classic metal mesh filter for Freeling, and this is the Espro. As you see, there is huge difference between them. So this looks like more a basket, and this is like a mesh filter. So a lot of people are asking or have this issue, and I want to cover this for a long time. So Jason, thank you for asking. So what's happened is when people add the coffee and they, we may ground some so we can see. Let's get the water fired up. So we'll brew with Espro. But this is common question. People add the coffee grounds, add the water, press it, and then what's happened here, they see some liquid. Let me talk about it. It's not, first of all, this is very common. And I explained to you why it's happened. And this is not really something you should really worry about it. Because if you take a look, actually the Espro itself, the carafe, the amount of liquid which gonna be trapped here is about this much. So all this, and probably on the bottom you're gonna have the filter. So really,
maybe 2 ounces.
Yeah, maybe you're gonna 2 ounces of coffee liquid gonna be trapped. Why it's happened? Well, Espro offers the microfiltration system, and we've talked about it. So this inner filter and outer filter, they're very fine mesh. So if you do have liquid trapped here, what's basically happening is you may don't want to drink this liquid because this is very small particles that usually will come through the regular mesh filter. Espro will not allow those small particles to go through. That's why you may see some liquid. And visually, if you look, those walls are probably about that thick. You actually get most of the coffee out, and what is trapped here, that's something you, like I said, you probably don't want to drink.
Yeah, it
wouldn't
taste wonderful.
If you want to get absolutely, like last drop out of it, what you can do is, we do not recommend that, but you can do it after you pour all that coffee out. What you can do, you can get the press, hold in position like this, take plunge back, I guess, and then just finish it like that. But again, you will get this last drops, but we've tasted it. This liquid which is trapped here, it does not taste good.
No, there's a reason that it's stuck there.
Yeah, those small particles continue to extract here, and the Espro press and the AeroPress are famous for their smooth, bitterless coffee. And the reason why, because it keeps the stuff you don't really want to drink here. In the case of AeroPress, liquid coffee goes through the paper filter, and it will take all that sediment out. That's why, as the result, you will get that smooth, less bitter coffee than you would get from classic French press. So that's something to keep in mind. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And we're talking about bitterness a lot, and that's something that goes back to what Igor was talking about earlier, which is that, why is coffee bitter? And we were talking about this yesterday. Why do you get bitter coffee? And one of the major reasons for that is really because those small particles take less time to absorb water and therefore release their flavor than the larger particles of coffee. And so if those are sitting and being soaked in water for 4 minutes, and you have your large particles and your small particles are going to give up more of their flavor more quickly. That's where a lot of your bitterness comes from, and it especially comes from that when you actually do the press process, because then your small particles manage to make it through your filtration system in some French presses.
They're still extracting,
yeah,
and they add that bitterness to your coffee.
Right.
So
right.
That's why, like I said, the Espro and AeroPress are famous for to solve this issue.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next question.
And we have a question also from Brian. Hey Brian, thanks for
yeah, let's go with Brian.
Thanks for diving in here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. All right, let's go to move forward. So Brian, hi Brian. I'm also Brian. Thanks for tuning in. Brian says, hi there. I'm curious about the process of adding the plunger after starting brew. Should you put the plunger right on top of the water line or plunge a bit into the crust and come back up? That's a good idea. I think that's something that folks are usually pretty confused about with French press, actually.
Yeah, this is like advanced technique.
I need to get my coffee, by the way.
Okay. So let's talk about the final goal. I think it would be great to start with that. So the crust and plunging and all this stuff. So basically, if I take, let's say, classic French press, this is bottom French press, and as you see here, it has the mesh filter. So let's just say, okay, let's talk about it and then we'll brew. So let's say I want to make a cup of coffee. So first what I do, right, I grind it and I put the coffee grounds into the French press. And then I add the hot water. There is a lot of folks, some people recommend, well, you should stir. Some people say, well, you should wait for 4 minutes and then stir and stuff like that. We think that is what you need to do, you need to understand is that your main goal, first of all, no matter what you do, no matter what method are you using, is to get perfect extraction. And what is perfect extraction? If you take the coffee bean, right? So there is like 20% of water solubles. That's the stuff you want to get out of the coffee grounds. I'm talking about caffeine, of course, right? So you can get hyper.
Right.
I'm talking about oils like coffee stool and caviol. I'm talking about like all other water solubles which coffee beans have. And the way how you let's visualize that a little bit. Let's go to dishwashing. So when you take the dish with the grease and everything, what you do is you pour the hot water so it will dissolve those fats and everything and wash them out. So I don't think this is a good comparison, but if you take the coffee bean through the microscope, it's going to look like a sponge, like the one you use, right? So it looks like a sponge. So there is those, I guess, holes where all those water solubles are located. And that's why you grinding, that's why you open them up. You open the surface and then you add in hot water. So the main goal of the hot water to penetrate inside of those small holes and dissolve those water solubles. That's what you're doing. Once you add, and now let's come back to the coffee brewing. So you add the coffee grounds, you add the hot water. To speed up this process, what you need to do is you need to stir first. So that's why we recommend to do it before it starts to brew, not after. Because your main goal is, once you're stirring, to get all this water and everything goes inside so those chemical reactions start to happen and stuff like that. That's why when you take the dish to wash it, you use the sponge to make this process faster. You can put the dish under hot water and it will be clean eventually, but you're going to spend a lot of water. So, I mean, I'm just trying to visualize it. So
Totally.
that's why you need to stir it. Once you stir it, the only reason why you need to put the plunger on the top, not to change the process or anything, it's just to keep the temperature consistent.
Yeah.
Because if you take this like this, it's gonna get, especially if it's like cold outside or whatever, the everything else gonna be like escaping from the heat, gonna be escape and stuff like that. So that's the reason why you put the plunger.
And the heat's really important for
Yeah.
being able to get good extraction as well. So if you lose that heat, you're going to get less. You're going to not necessarily going to get a poorer cup of coffee, but it's not going to give you the extraction that you're looking for. So that's why the lid's really important.
And again, let's do analogy with cooking. When you cook the steak, you put on a hot skillet, you finish one side, you go to another side, and you don't like put on cold skillet, or you know, you don't put on hot skillet and then take another skillet and put, no. The consistency is very important, especially with water temperature. So that's why we put the plunger. Then you let to water to penetrate through those coffee grounds, and then the only reason why you're pressing is all what you want is to separate the coffee grounds, because these coffee grounds become a waste. You extracted those water solubles, you extracted the coffee, and you extract the coffee oils, you're done. So all what you need to do is right now to separate it. That's why you plunge it.
Yeah.
So that's basically the science.
Yeah.
I hope I answer your question about the plunging, but that's what it is. We recommend to stir. The only reason why you need to plunge it is to keep the temperature consistent, and then you separate and you get your coffee, which is water, and 20% of the water solubles you extracted from coffee. That's your primary goal.
And I like to make a little bit of a game out of it, you know, like I've got all my grounds right here, and I kind of balance right on top and get it there, and then just wait. And then you get that really satisfying part of when you push it down. And I've seen some folks do this.
Yeah, you should, no.
Don't do that. That will be bad. It doesn't really matter how good your French press is. If you go back and forth, you're going to get all kinds of stuff in your coffee. It's not going to taste good. But that's a really good question. Thanks for asking that, Brian, because I think a lot of folks are usually kind of confused about, like, break the coffee up and then back, and don't worry about any of that. Just get that plunger right on top and let it sit and let that lid do the work. And again, depending on the type of French press that you have, you'll keep more of the heat in. If you have one that's like a double-walled insulated, like the Freeling here, it'll keep a lot more of that heat in, so that, again, when you plunge, after only 4 minutes, you keep the heat in the coffee, because cold coffee is not good, unless it's iced, and even then. We have some other folks chiming in. Thank you, guys. We're going to get to you. Let's go ahead and look at one of our questions from yesterday real quick. And then Ivan, thank you for coming in and saying hello. Brian, again, thank you for that question and for tuning in. Remember, guys, please feel free to share this around. If you're watching right now, throw it up on Facebook or anywhere else. And let's get into another question. Bagels519. I really like that name. Bagels5. I'm going to say Bagels519. Is that cool? Kind of rolls off the tongue well. And I want to figure that you have 519 bagels, because I really like bagels. Anyway, Bagels519 says, what is the best grind of coffee for my French press? Also, if you have to buy ready-packed coffee from the store as a last resort, what would you recommend? That's a very good question, because we've been talking a lot about this.
Yeah, so I think we ready-packed coffee. I assume he talks about like
pre-ground.
Pre-ground, okay.
Yeah, already ground in the bag or anything like that.
I think if it's last resort, maybe, but we would recommend you to stay away from it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And let's talk about best grind for coffee for my French press. So there is a lot of myths,
schools of thought,
a lot of like guesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's rule them out. Let's go back again to the basics. It doesn't matter which method are you using. Again, what you need to know is the number one is that coffee grind and the extraction time, they are connected. The finer coffee grind, the less time it's required to brew. If you brew espresso shot, you targeting for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Why is 30 seconds? Because if you go to 60 seconds, you're gonna taste the bitterness. It's not gonna be as appealing as good if you would do for 30 seconds, right? So that's why, again, let's go back to the steak. When you cook the steak, you like medium, rare, you know, in some cases you like well done. It's personal preferences. Same rules applies to coffee. Again, your brew time will depend on the coarseness. The espresso and French press, this is two extremes. Well, actually, the Turkish coffee is another extreme, but espresso and French presses. This coffee on both ends. It's one extreme and another extreme. So there is 30 seconds extraction and there is 4 minutes extraction. We did hear that some people use 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Some people say, oh, I'm going to brew for 10 minutes and I'm going to... Well,
that's so crazy.
You can do that, but that coffee going to have completely different profile. So there is the perfect line where we like stuff, right? That's why those numbers were developed. But again, let's go to basic. Brew time and I mean the course, the grind size and the brew time, they are connected. So basics number one. The water/coffee ratio, also very important. There's a lot of things you can control. So what we recommend is to try to make your coffee first with golden standard. So try to get your coarse grind for your French press for about, I would say, 1600 micron, right?
Just about,
and if you have like, people were saying, well, how I can get this microns? Well, there's tools, there exist. So for example, this is the crush grind, and we've talked about it in the past. And here, each click you can adjust with 20 microns. So you can calculate 1600, so it's 80 clicks.
So pretty much we would close the grind apparatus on the crush grind all the way as tight as it would go, which would mean that we really won't be able to get anything through that when we're grinding because the burrs are going to be too close together. And so then as we turn the dial on the bottom of the crush grind, as we turn that dial, we open the distance between the burrs, and we do that by 20 microns per click.
It's simple.
And then, so if you basically just break it down, you do your number of turns in order to get to about 14 to 1600 microns, give or take, we found. And you're going to get a pretty good grind. It's going to be nice and coarse. It should be fairly consistent.
And you know it's going to brew for 4 minutes. Yeah. Right. So if you have something like, I also really like when I started it with my coffee a long time ago, I got this grinder. It's Infinity by Capresso. It looks very beat up. But when I do cold brew, I like it because with cold brew, you're looking for like 2, sometimes 3 cups of coffee, and it's going to be very hard to grind with this. And as you see here, you cannot adjust by microns, and this is like entry-level grinder, but there is coarse, medium, fine, and extra fine settings. So you can start with this as well, and set on coarse, and start with 4 minutes of brew time. And if you go to like medium, then decrease your brew time to 3 minutes or so. So this is simple tools. There is high-end grinders you can get, but our primary focus is there is perfect balance between price and features.
Yeah.
And let's face it, you can buy like $3,000 espresso machine. But my question is to you, will it make any better coffee than, for example, not entry, but the mid-size or like $500 machine? There is great espresso machines for that price.
Right.
It maybe not have those like dual boilers or whatever, but if you know exactly what to do, you can get perfect cup of coffee. And with French press, your investment is French press, good coffee grinders. That's all what you need, and your knowledge. The science, if you know those foundation, the basics behind it, you're always gonna get excellent cup of coffee. So
Yeah, and
Oh, and let's sorry, Brian. Let's talk about the buying the coffee as the last resort.
oh yes,
Yeah,
pre-ground.
I would buy coffee beans at the store as the last resort. We always recommend look for the local roasters. The
Hmm.
reason why is that because they are usually small businesses and they usually roast on as they go. So
Right.
when you buy coffee beans from the store, there is most likely those coffee beans been on the shelf 1 month, and
And even longer.
this is like very optimistic. I would say they're going to be there for 3 or 6 months.
And even if that can is
Yeah,
nitrogen flushed,
yeah, it's
you're losing flavor. Your beans get roasted, and the second that you roast those beans, when you crack them, the first crack, which is when your beans are roasting and they crack open a little bit, you're going to start losing some flavor. So, like Igor is saying, if you find a local roaster, you're going to get the freshest possible coffee because it's pretty likely that they are going from green bean, which is unroasted, to roasted coffee in a period of time that is much smaller. So you're going to get a much better cup of coffee as a result because those beans haven't been
well.
sitting there off gassing.
Yeah, let's just make it simple. Would you buy the steak meat? I'm going to refer the steaks. Would you buy the steak
I
meat
think you're hungry,
if
Igor.
I am? But would you buy the steak meat if it would be on the shelf for like 3 months? Will you? Why are you buying the beans which been on the shelf for 6 months?
Yeah.
Come on, guys, just let's get over it.
There's no
Let's,
shame in it if you have to, obviously.
yeah, it's
I
it's
mean,
absolutely emergency, but
when I travel and I take my AeroPress with me, which I do a lot, I will usually take beans that I got from a favorite roaster where I live that have probably I pre-ground before I travel because I can take a travel grinder with me. But if I don't do that, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take those beans with me. It's going to be pre-ground, but still starting with a better bean is better. So again, there's no shame in it. It's okay. But if you really want the best, you're going to want to do that, and that does actually play into what Igor was talking about with respect to the grind that you're getting, because it's pretty likely a lot of times that if you get something that's pre-ground, you don't know how it was ground. You don't know exactly what coarseness you're going to be getting. Whereas when you can actually pay attention to how it was ground, you're going to get a better cup. So that's really kind of it. Again, to just kind of reiterate there, 1600 microns, give or take, for your grind, for the best, probably one of the best extractions you're going to get. And yeah, it's okay to use pre-ground, but see if you can't, and support a local roaster for sure. There's usually one near you. Just get on Google and search, coffee roaster near me, and you'll find any number of local roasters more than likely who will give you really great coffee at a really great deal. And you're supporting a local business, which is also a big deal.
yeah. So let's talk about um, microns very quickly. So for people who just very curious about it, if you search online optimizing brew coffee quality through proper grinding by Daniel
Ephraim.
Ephraim, this is excellent guide which will help you to like make your perfect cup of coffee. He goes through like every details, every aspects, how coffee grind gonna affect your coffee and how you can improve the quality. Because every time something happens with the coffee, your coffee quality only goes down. So sounds strange, right? But let me explain. When farmers picking up the coffee um, from the plant and then it's going to like cleaning, drying, and all those processes, do you have any control over it? Let's say they lay out them and try to dry out and then there was a rain, right? So quality goes down, or temperature change, quality goes down, or while they were shipping them there was humidity issue in the storage and again they were not properly sealed, the green coffee beans quality goes down. When they got in here, for example, they've been in the storage and there was no like proper ventilation or temperature control, temperature fluctuate, it does affect your coffee beans. Then they roast them, put them on the shelf. They were on 6 months on the shelf. You purchase them. So as you see, the quality of coffee degrades with every step. There's perfect conditions where, let's say, they had perfect, weather conditions, perfect storage condition, and they roasted and you got those coffee beans. So you will see the huge difference between this quality of coffee beans versus the, like I mentioned before, where the issue happened, right? So when you buy coffee from local roasters, those issues are usually minimized because they really like, especially the roasters who work directly with the farmers, they get very close relationship. They know each other. They can work out on the issues and stuff like that. So as I say again, with every step there is the quality issues, and you cannot control them. You don't have any control on the on the weather conditions, on the storage condition or anything.
Yeah.
But what you can control is the quality of your beverage once you have the beans. So you can choose proper grinding. You can choose proper water to coffee ratio. You can control the water temperature and extraction time. See what I'm saying? You have full control in this. So if they didn't screw it up and you didn't screw it up, you're gonna get excellent cup of coffee. Yeah. That's my point.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
There was another question. Let's cover this one.
And then we're going to get to some of these other questions.
Okay,
Inquisitive Wolf, I've seen you before. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Let's get his question first.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's do that. Inquisitive Wolf, hey again. Is it necessary to bloom the coffee with the first 4 ounces of water poured into the press and then add the rest of the water to the grinds? If yes, is that time included in the 4-minute steep time?
This reminds me, like, should I, let's go back to steak. Sorry, Brian.
It's all right.
It reminds me,
you're hungry.
Should I put the salt before or after? Okay?
Good analogy.
Yeah, same thing here.
For me, it would be cooking tofu, but it's, it's
Yeah.
always different.
Yeah.
Now we're both hungry. Okay, go
So,
ahead.
is it matter? Well, yes and no. I think we're talking about fine-tuning details. As I mentioned before, the way how you brew French press, your main goal is to extract those water solubles.
Right.
I think in this particular case, if you add the water for first 4 ounces and then stir it and then add water, or you add the coffee grounds, add the water and then stir it, I don't think it's going to make much difference.
Yeah. I mean,
in this particular case.
In this case, I've had some situations where I can taste the difference maybe a little bit.
It's gonna be, I would say this personal preferences.
It really is because, like, honestly, I've done some back and forth on it to like bloom first and let it sit for like the 30 to maybe 45-ish seconds and see, if I taste the difference. I can't tell you that I totally do. I think that it's a really great process. What this kind of more is sort of the ritual of making the coffee, which is kind of nice, to add a little bit and then stir and then kind of smell it and let it open up a little bit and then to pour it. But really the bottom line is you're adding the same amount of water no matter what. It's just adding some to kind of fill the tank up a little bit and then filling the tank up all the way. You're still going to use all the gas in the tank more than likely, so it doesn't make a whole bunch of difference. I think that we've seen. It's really totally personal preference.
Yeah, if you like
and
to
I
do
say,
that,
the ritual
that way,
of it.
perfect, do it.
Yeah.
Because you are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You have to stir the coffee grounds before it starts to brew, because your main goal is to extract.
Right.
So.
And that time would be included in the brew time, by the way. So you would, if you steeped and bloomed for 30, 45 seconds, something like that, yes, you would include that in your overall like 4-minute brew time.
Can you give me the scale, please?
Oh yeah, because that will count into it. And again, it's not that it has to be a perfect 4 minutes or anything like that, but that's generally where you see about the best extraction. Any more than that, remember, once you press down, unless you have a French press that actually stops the extraction process, once you press down, your coffee's technically still extracting a little bit. And therefore, that's how you're going to get like that stronger, sometimes more bitter cup. So, yeah, good question, Inquisitive Wolf. Thank you.
So let's do the French press. I want to show to people. Let's go back to Espro. This is Espro press for people who don't know. It's feature, completely different design than a classic French press. This is the classic mesh filter, and this is the Espro filter. And by the way, we did create excellent video where we explain the all filtration system. Like this is the Freeling, and Brian, go ahead and show them the filter, the Micron. We want to make this clear. There's new things happens in the French press world.
New French press.
Yeah. So this is classic mesh filter, and I forgot how many microns here, but when the French press was introduced, this was the gold standard. Things are changed.
Because that was just the way that it was. I mean,
Yeah.
like it didn't exist before then. So
now
that was a big deal.
Yeah, there's big thing has been introduced, and we call it microfiltering. And for example, the Espro filters the coffee grounds on the micro level. Same thing here. The Freeling introduced, this is the classic filter, and this is additional macro filter, which was designed in Italy. It's very smooth. I mean, it's like
you can actually feel the
you can
feel the difference, because it is, this one
Yeah.
is so much more fine than this, and
Yeah.
it's hard to see
And
on a
right
camera,
here.
but this makes a superb difference in filtering the coffee.
Yeah. Again, this is the small particles which gonna pass through the regular filter, and they gonna keep extracting and add the bitterness to the coffee. That's why the macro filtering is the next level of the French press, and we're gonna talk about it. So what I have here is I have 18-ounce French press, and so it is 18 ounce, but in reality with Espro press, this basket gonna take some time, some space, and the coffee grounds also take some space. So I would assume that we're gonna use 16 ounces of water. So we will go to 7:4 water to coffee ratio. So we're gonna use 7 grams for
Every 4 ounces of water.
yeah. So if we have 16 ounce, right? So we're gonna multiply 4 by 7. So we will need about 28 grams of coffee for this particular French press. So you can adjust this water coffee ratio. If you have larger French press, it's gonna be different. But this is the math I've done. So 16 ounce of water. That's probably how much I'm gonna use. And I just divide that by 4. So, and then I multiply by 7, which, you know,
grams.
yeah. So the total
Of
amount
coffee.
is 28. So I have scale here, and I'm gonna. Can you give me the bins?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me change this to grams, and we'll just this rule will apply to any method you're gonna do. So you're gonna measure it.
Yep.
So 28.
Right on the money. We're being really picky.
Okay,
There we go.
Let's go with 30, for example.
Yep.
And yeah, so we'll grind this. I'm gonna use, you know what? For faster process, I'm gonna use the Infinity. I'm gonna set.
Oh, and
to
Ivan, we'll
pours.
talk about sugar in just a moment. Will the live chat be posted on our YouTube channel? Yes, I believe so, King Huzzah. I believe that you can go back and watch the video and see the live chat again, and we'll also see if we're able to save.
No, live chat, I don't think it's gonna be available.
No, it might not be. We'll double check, and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
We've got Daniel and Ivan asking about brewing coffee with sugar, off taste. I wouldn't necessarily brew coffee with sugar right when you brew it. That might be a little strange. But again, it's kind of up to you. I mean, if you like that, but it could get a little weird. I've never really tried that. Have you ever tried brewing coffee with sugar added right when you start?
Well, I would say this: sugar will penetrate, and
Yeah.
let's go. Gonna laugh, but let's go back to steak. Here's the difference between
You are
adding,
hungry.
adding the salt before and after. Let me tell you. There's a lot of folks are saying, well, if I add the salt on my steak, it's gonna like drawn all juices out. Guys, it's gonna take about 15 minutes at least till the salt actually starts to penetrate inside of the meat and all those chemical reactions start to happen. Same thing with coffee. If you want to add the sugar to your coffee, I'm not the
Chemist.
Chemist.
Neither am I at all.
Yeah, so it will affect your taste. Um, if you like this, I guess try it. Do it before and after, like make 1 cup with the sugar and one without. Taste it. If you like it, I'm sure the taste would be different because if you go back to the steak example, is if you add the salt into the meat, the salt gonna penetrate. So and there is scientific research that if you add the salt after, you're gonna use less salt if you do it after. So it really depends. I guess if you add the sugar while you bring your coffee, I would assume you will need to add less of it because it's gonna be very sweet, I guess, right? Because you can drink black coffee and just get a little bit of sugar in your mouth. You're gonna be as satisfied if you add the sugar to the cup. So
Yeah, and
so I'm
forgive me,
coffee.
I was looking something up. King Huzzah, you were saying that Cuban coffee is brewed like that. It's kind of brewed that way, but typically you make your sugar mixture at the same time as brewing your coffee
Yeah, the
and then put
difference
them
is
together.
the difference
But you don't
is
put the coffee with the sugar right off the bat when you're brewing.
Well, with Cuban method,
But
they mix, so they introduce the air.
Right.
So they're going to be.
There's a little bit of kind of a whipping that happens, and that
because
really
they,
brings the two
stir
together.
with the spoon.
Right.
Yeah.
And it tastes kind of awesome. But yeah, I would probably be. You can play with it. We'll try it. Actually, we'll just try it at some point. We'll see what happens. I've never really done that. But probably the reason that you wouldn't do that, obviously, is like if you have friends over, you would want them to be able to choose how sweet they wanted the coffee to be, or something along those lines.
So I'm just adding the hot water to the French press.
It's the spinning method. I like the spinning method.
Well, basically, again, the idea is to get as much exposure as possible.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have enough water, though. I hope I do. Yeah, that's fine. So I would say we had.
You're just about at the max level.
Yeah. No, this is for tea. I'm just measuring by.
Oh yeah. That's good.
Because I didn't measure the coffee, but that's okay. So I got about 16 ounces of coffee, and I don't know if you see, I'm gonna break the crust. Not breaking the crust, but basically stir, and not too aggressively.
Yeah.
And just let it brew. Where is my? Sorry guys, we were trying to do like a lot of different things at the same time.
Doing
so
lots of things at
let's
once
go
here.
to the next question if there is any.
Yes, King Huzzah, the gooseneck is the way to go. A gooseneck kettle will make a huge difference in your ability to easily pour. I also like having a really good
It's especially useful.
electronic kettle that I can control temperature with. Because I like to drink tea, and tea versus coffee requires very different temperature. But gooseneck is the easiest way to get that really awesome easy pour.
You have full control, and this is especially handy when you use pour over method with French press. But when you dial into like AeroPress, for example, gooseneck must, because with gooseneck, I mean, there is a narrow diameter in comparison to like this French press, right? So here you can just pour it, where here it's a lot easier to control by I forgot to close it. But anyway,
What have we done? It's okay.
We
These
break
things
our
happen.
rules,
We
but
broke our own rules.
yeah, but we are trying to do a lot of things at the
We
same
can
time.
do
So,
that. I think we have one more question on our our original YouTube
let's take a look.
post about doing our stream. We're gonna check. If you guys have any other questions, let us know. I think we've gotten to everybody
for
right
strongest
now.
coffee, should maximum brew time be 5 minutes?
And that's from Mr. Mufu to you. Hello, Mr. Mufu to you.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
for asking.
this is what I was talking about in the past. The grind size gonna affect your brew time. The coarser you grind, the more brew time is recommended. So to make it simple, again, get the grinder that would give you some kind of accuracy. What I'm talking about, like this grind, crush grind, you will know it is like 1600 microns or so. Or if you have something like Infinity or any grinder, you're gonna know what your grind is. And then from that, you're gonna figure out your brew time. Because if you use the blade grinder, I have it here. So if you have the blade grinder,
don't do that.
Oops. So if you have something like this, every time you grind it, you're gonna have different results. Period.
And it's just gonna be a bunch of chopped up coffee beans.
Yeah, and how you can control it. If you are, let's say you have it and you cannot afford the burr grinder or whatever, what we recommend is to do pulsing. So what you do, you press it, stop it, press it, stop it, press it, stop it, press it, stop it. So count amount of presses. That would give you some kind of consistency, and by stopping it, you will create more consistent grinds than if you would just press it, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. No, it would be a lot better if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So go ahead and press that coffee. So you see what I'm saying? So this is a simple trick for you, so you can get at least, consistent result with this.
I don't know if you guys can see, but there's just a big thing that happens with the Espro when you press. You see this like sudden moment where the coffee grounds and the actual coffee split, and you're gonna see the major difference between how the Espro extracts. Because all those grounds and beans, everything is stuck there at the bottom. You just left with the coffee, which is awesome.
Yeah. You pressed on the scale, Brian.
Oh, we're gonna know how much pressure I pressed down with.
Exactly. So this is, I think, folks, we're talking about, and let's pour this somewhere. Do I have a cup somewhere? Yeah, right there. So let's.
Wait. There we go. Sorry, guys, we're making sure you can see.
Okay, this is 18 ounce. And let's get. I just want to get everything out. This is how we started it. So as you see, can they see it? Here, I don't have much liquid trapped. And the reason why I don't is, again, because I have very stable coarse grind.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue. The more inconsistent grind you have, the more liquid you're gonna have here with Espro. Because, it looks like there is much, but there is not much.
There's really very little stuff.
Yeah,
there.
let's do like pressing. So I'm gonna push this out. Yeah, you see this liquid? But what? There is actually less than an ounce. Even.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't think I can get anything else out of it. So yeah, it looks good to me.
It's a pretty solid extraction.
Yeah, there is air right now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't much. It looks a lot because the basket, the way how it's designed, but there is not really much liquid left in it. So
let's look at something here.
Yeah, let's see. Is there any more questions?
John was saying that he has the same grinder. Have to give it a good shake too, because sometimes pieces of beans get under the blades. Yeah, that's true, John. And if you're able to, definitely look at getting yourself even just a super straightforward like hand grinder, and you'll see a huge, massive difference in the grind that you get. Kevin was asking best AeroPress water temp. Thanks, Kevin.
It goes back again to four basic foundation. The brew temperature. Let's talk about how brew temperature affect your extraction. I think I should phrase like that. So let's go to washing the dishes. And again, we're trying to do that analogy just to simplify the answer. So let's say you ate the steak. Sorry, Brian. And then you have a lot of fat on the plate. And you go to the sink and you wash it with hot water. So what happens? The hot water gonna dissolve fast quickly. So now, same plate, same fat, you go and you out of hot water. So you have to use the cold water.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna take a lot longer because fats gonna, they're not dissolving well in cold water.
Can't penetrate.
Cannot penetrate. So it takes a lot longer time to wash it up.
Yeah.
Same rule applies. Remember, coffee also have coffee oils. So the ideal temperature is 195 to 205.
Yeah.
So that's where your ideal range. Why is that? Well, again, go back to fats analogy or whatever. This water temperature is perfect, was developed so during the extraction time, again, they all connected. Your extraction time, if you have coarse grind and your water temperature is 200, within 4 minutes, you will get perfect extraction.
Right.
That's how it was developed. So keep that in mind. 195, 205, that's the perfect temperature where you can get the perfect balance between extraction, between penetration, and all those chemical reactions. That's basically what we would recommend. So, and let's go to another extreme, like let's say you want to do the cold brew. That's why you have to brew 24 hours with the cold water,
right,
because it takes longer. Just go back to that washing plate analogy. Fats, they're not going to dissolve well in cold water.
Right.
So simple is that. Coffee, what the main goal with coffee is to extract the water solubles.
Right.
That's all what you're doing. And just focus on that.
And remember, coffee is a bean. So if you've ever made beans, let's say black beans, pinto beans, something like that, from dry beans, you need to soak those beans overnight.
Exactly.
And you can speed up the process of cooking those beans by utilizing more water and cooking them slowly at a low heat, because the heat will start to seep into the beans, which will make them, something that you can eat. But that is not always necessarily going to give you the process that the flavor that you'd be looking for from those beans. So it all has to do with the amount of time that it takes for the water to actually penetrate the bean, and then the flavor to come out, or for it to become something that you actually want to eat. So that's just an important thing to keep in mind. Temperature makes a really big difference. And that's, let's see, Brian, thank you for asking another question, which kind of leads to this. If one doesn't have an electronic kettle, what methods of using a thermometer do you suggest, and what temperature? So this little guy right here can be super useful.
Yeah, or simple rule. When you boil the water, you know the boiling water temperature. And simple rule is that if you turn off the water, let's say you have something like this, if you turn off the kettle after it's boiled, wait 1 or 2 minutes, and it's going to get to 205 or 200.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and that's
so that's how simple it is. So if you don't have thermometer, just boil your water, turn it off, wait 1 or 2 minutes, and then pour it. Yeah. That's how you will get always that perfect temperature.
And if you need to, get yourself a little. This is not necessarily
this is cheap, like
a meat thermometer, but you could use it for just about anything in your kitchen. Yeah, it's like 10, maybe 15. And this is great because this will go all the way up to about 220 Fahrenheit, which means that you're going to be able to pretty quickly measure. I mean, if I put this into my coffee right now, I just did it, and I'm at maybe a little over 140. So I've already lost a decent amount of the heat that's in my coffee, but that's what's going to happen. But you'll get to the point where you'll be able to boil your water And then, like Igor is saying, give it 1 to 2 minutes, it'll drop just about right. If you use it too hot, that's the other thing. If you're using water that's too hot, that's not necessarily going to help you. There's usually kind of an expectation that just like brew water really hot and it's going to speed up the process and make everything great. No, that's where you get like this bitter, not good coffee. If you've ever been to, I'm not going to name coffee shops, but if you've ever been to some large coffee shops out there or things like that where the attention is not necessarily paid to the amount of time it takes to brew, it's just get as much coffee, or let's say, I know one, like when I stay at a hotel and I forget my AeroPress or I run out of coffee or something and I go usually into the hotel lobby to get some coffee and there's just that sad air pot of coffee sitting there. That coffee has been sitting there for so long, no one paid any attention to the temperature of the water. It was just get the coffee made because people need to drink it. It won't taste good. So the temperature makes a big difference. And like Igor says, 195 to 205 going to give you a pretty good brew. Chopsticks are cheap too.
Okay.
That's true.
Let's talk. We just, guys, Fox, people, my friends and everybody, we just launched these bamboo. I think they were talking about stirring spoon.
Yep.
We just launched this handcrafted bamboo stirring paddle with our logo in it. In the past, we give to all our customers who buy French press this stirring spoon, but then we thought if we introduce this paddle, it's going to be a cool thing. Here's the reason why we prefer this instead of this. First of all, it gives you ability to stir. I mean, it looks beautiful and stuff like that, but besides that, a lot of people have an issue with cleaning. So once you finish brewing with your French press, a lot of people had a hard time to get the coffee grounds out.
I'd always just put my hand in it.
And we noticed, we heard your feedback, it's not as easy to do with this, but it's a lot easier to do with the paddle. Just scoop them out and get them out. The reason why we prefer bamboo, because it's great, it's renewable.
Very renewable.
Yeah. And it's not going to crack your glass.
Yeah.
In comparison, if you would use metal, you can crack this glass with metal a lot easier. I'm not going to do that. So if you just hit it, you're going to have the crack. So there's going to be a lot better way to do it.
Yeah.
A lot better way to do it.
The paddle's a big deal.
Yeah. And
that's a FrenchPressCoffee.com.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind.
Innovation. It's an innovation.
And guys, it's going to have our logo in it. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think we've caught everyone's questions so far.
Let me ask the last question for you. So there is few guys are still watching. Can you give us feedback for our FrenchPressCoffee.com website? I'm sure some of you are our customers. And can you give us feedback about YouTube videos? What you want to see? What do you want to buy from us? If there is any suggestions you can give us to improve our website, can you do it now? I mean, we really appreciate your customers. We always listen feedback. We talk directly with the customers. You know us, how we work, but it would be nice to hear the feedback from you guys and see what you think about our website, our YouTube channel. That's something you want to see, something you want to share. So let's do it. If you guys can submit it, let's take a look.
I want to know what you guys think about my coffee cup. It's pink and it says First Lady on it.
First Lady, yeah.
This is
mine is better. Got French press.
Yours holds more too.
Yeah.
I'm making my way through it. I'm not the first lady of coffee. I'm definitely not the first lady of coffee. I think we've got all the questions so far. Yeah.
Love the bamboo. There any feedback, guys?
I think, and really, I mean, if you guys have anything that that you have seen us not do that you'd be interested in, we're always curious about that, because again, most of what we do is really driven by what our customers ask or tell us, or what we see people asking when they're looking to get a new French press or something along those lines, typically it's easiest for us to see what these questions are, or get those questions and then be able to make videos that sort of answer those. So if you guys have anything that you want, and you can always ask later if you want as well too, or let us know later. Brian says, do you sell the Micron sieves or have videos on using them?
No, we worked with the company. It's called Brew, and unfortunately, they have great product, but the way how they try to like enter U.S. market, um, we were not.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do. They had uh, some problems with manufacturing stuff like that. I think they are available right now, but we were not able to get them in time from them and stuff like that. So we just decided to skip it.
Yeah.
But the company name is Brew. They have great product. If you wanna like search for it, I think one company have them. I just search online and you should be able to find them. They are pricey, but yeah, you can get them. I think espressoparts.com or something like that. They like exclusive distributor. And the reason why we were not able to like get them because they were told us they can get us, but then they said they don't have them. So we don't want to overpromise to our customers. That's why we only sell stuff that we have in stock and we know we can get to the customers. Yeah. So
yeah.
Is any other questions?
No, King Kazaa said, yes, love the current videos, but anything new like the paddle will be great to let us know what's new out there. Yeah, for sure. We're always working to keep our fingers on the pulse of what new stuff is out there. We've done,
yeah.
Well, we were talking, as we say, about this beast right here.
Well, just yesterday. Yeah, yesterday we shot a lot of videos because Brian is not available all the time. So
makes me sad.
Yeah, so we going to the cycles, but we have new products like Fruiting on board. We just launched this. We will start to sell the parts for French press.
Yeah. King Huzzah is saying AeroPress also has a mesh filter, don't they? Yes, they do, and it's these guys right here.
It's
you can
not
get them. It's not necessarily mesh, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
This is the Able disc, and there's two different versions of it. You can get these at FrenchPressCoffee.com. The disc fine, we're not going to open this one because it's closed, but this one's much more fine than the one that I'm holding right here, which is the standard disc. But these are really awesome because you can just pop this into your AeroPress and then brew with that. And then when you go to clean your AeroPress, you're just cleaning that. So if you're traveling, this is really great. But the only thing to keep in mind is that the paper filters for the AeroPress are going to catch a lot more of the coffee oils.
Yeah, let me talk about one new product, actually.
There's always some new ones. There's a lot of new stuff. Yeah, you got it. Thank you, King Saw. Thank you for asking. We appreciate that.
And we just got this new product. It's called Deep Clean by Espro. And they developed this specifically for their French press for Espro. Where is it? It's over there. So, but what we did notice, like in this particular case for the AeroPress, what's happened, can you give me that filter? What's happened, with the time, you're gonna see like coffee oil and stuff like that because it is required to clean the metal filters, and it includes like Able disc or if you have metal pour over and stuff like that,
yeah,
or the espresso machine or whatever, those holes eventually gonna be clogged up. So yeah, or cold brew or whatever. So Espro introduced the product, and what it does, it's dissolve the coffee solids, it's dissolve the milk solids and stuff like that. And basically the way how it works is you take 1 tablespoon mixed with about half 500 milliliters of water, and you put your Espro press, and it will dissolve. So it basically scrub-free cleaning. So you don't have to scrub it. It's going to dissolve those coffees. Solids. It will dissolve the milk solids if you have them or whatever. So essentially, like what I have is I have the brush, but brush can was in the Espro filters, they're a little bit gentle. So you have to get the soft brush. So it's fine to use it, but it has to be the soft brush because you can damage your mash.
Yeah.
So, but this is the solution. So you just dissolve it, put your filters, pour over, AeroPress, Espro press, whatever. Dissolve it, wash it with the warm water. You're done. You have clean equipment.
Yeah.
So.
When I used to, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, sorry. It will improve the taste of coffee as well.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when I used to run coffee shops, and actually run an espresso machine most of the time, and of course drip machines, things like that. This was a long time ago, so there weren't as many cool things as there are now. But when I did that, I would use something like this quite a lot, because if you're brewing constantly and you are in a restaurant or a coffee shop situation, you're just going to build up tons of oil and sediment and things like that. And the same thing happens for your at-home stuff as well. I mean, you're going to build up that oil and that sediment, and it just, it tastes weird over time. You'll taste the difference between a clean filter or a clean French press, clean machine, whatever that is, versus another one. But this stuff is cool because it's not going to impart a lot of weird flavor onto what you use to make the coffee. If you use like weird soaps or detergents or any of that kind of stuff, that's going to really build up, and that doesn't taste good. Thank you, King Huzzah, for saying great with the
very
figs.
Active.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Recommend cleaning classic press mesh regularly. Yes, that's correct. It's pretty good to clean. I mean, I try and clean my French press pretty immediately after I brew.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, then you're going to cut down the amount of maintenance time that you have, and it's just going to really help you to keep it consistent. So as soon as I finish emptying my French press, which happens like really fast in my house,
well, I
just clean it.
Yeah, I see like it's a drug. No, what's drug?
Well, coffee is a drug.
No. I was like, in the morning when you show up on the kitchen and you have dirty French press.
Yeah.
The first thing in the morning, you want your coffee. You don't want to
clean it.
Yeah, so
totally.
I know it's a pain in the ass to clean it, but you got to do it right away. Yeah. There is few reasons why.
Yeah.
But we would recommend to do it right away. Like I said, with this paddle, it's going to be a lot easier with this. But this is not for daily cleaning. This is for like deep clean. Like if you French press clogged up or whatever, you use this like once per month, once per 2 months or whatever, once 3 months.
Right.
But on daily basis, wash it out with warm water. You'll be fine.
Yeah. And King Huzzah is saying, I think you've inspired me to possibly purchase an Espro press from you. Yes, get it from FrenchPressCoffee.com. Get an Espro because these things are awesome. I cannot tell you how much I really love the locking system. Like, that's just the...
No, do like that, Brian.
I know. I'm still always scared because I've broken them. But like this,
you're not gonna break
this thing is the coolest thing ever. Like you are not going to lose your glass liner because of this handy dandy little tiny patented piece of plastic that's glued to this thing using, as they put it, I think a space age polymer to make sure it doesn't fall off or anything. And it's like the most, it's just awesome. So yes, get one, King Huzzah. It's totally worth it.
Yeah,
does a stainless, I don't know what stainless would be. Inquisitive Wolf, does a stainless steel press impart off flavors? Is glass better or cleaner? That's a good question, actually.
No, it will not affect your flavor, neither glass or stainless steel, unless you have like very cheap or really non-stainless steel, like aluminum or something. Aluminum will affect you, but I've never seen aluminum for.
I use a stainless steel all the time.
But this is a great question, and let's talk about the difference between the glass and stainless steel. Answer to your question: it will not affect the flavor, but it will affect two things. First is the visual experience. A lot of people, they buy French press because they want to see the process.
Yeah.
So they add the coffee grounds. They can see it. They stir it. They see the layer of foam and layer of beans, and then they press it. They enjoy it. Visual experience.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see as much with the stainless steel. Difference number one. Difference number two is that usually stainless steel is double walled. So it has its benefits. So first of all, with the glass, if it's too hot or whatever, you can burn yourself. Like you cannot hold it like this.
Yeah.
Water temperature is 200 degrees. Come on.
Yeah.
So number two is it's breakable. You can break it. Number three is that the heat retention gonna be a lot. You're gonna lose a lot of heat with glass.
Yeah.
So usually you want to get your coffee out of glass for about within 20 minutes.
Get it into a thermos or
Yeah.
a carafe or something like that.
Yeah,
Also to stop the extraction process, which is a good practice no matter what. But
Yeah. With double wall, you cannot burn yourself. Again, double wall, so inside it's hot, outside it's room temperature. And reverse, inside it's cold, outside it's still room temperature. So you cannot burn yourself. Number two is usually, like in this case, freezing, it's double walled, plus it's insulated top, so you can keep your coffee you can use this as a thermos. So it's gonna keep your coffee hot for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So visual, you're not gonna have visuals, but it has the benefits.
Yeah.
The downside is stainless steel costs more than a glass.
And in fact, if anything is going to maybe impart flavor onto your coffee, like Igor was saying, if you're using a cheap, I don't like that word, an incredibly inexpensive metal French press, it probably won't be stainless steel if it was incredibly inexpensive. That's going to impart some flavor, but if anything is going to do that, it would be if you were using a French press that had some kind of plastic in it, specifically on the filter or anything else. Like this, the Bodems don't. But if you were using, I've never wanted to use one, I never have
plastic here.
Right, but
This is
typically
100%
even a
stainless
well-made French press, the plastic should be BPA free and you shouldn't taste it, but that plastic is what some people can taste no matter what.
Yeah.
And that is why
Some people
going with
are
a
very
stainless,
sensitive.
especially to plastic. And some people are kind of sensitive to metal as well, and that's why there are, we don't have one up right now, but you can find it on FrenchPressCoffee.com. There are French presses that are completely glass, almost completely glass, with the exception of the plunger. And some folks are really sensitive. So if you're sensitive, yeah. But don't worry about stainless steel imparting any flavor. I use it all the time, and it tastes great.
And King Hazza, did I pronounce right his name?
Yes, King Hazza.
King Hazza.
Right?
He mentioned
King
that
Hazza.
they sleep. You exactly right. You go to the sink, you wash it,
And yep,
you broke it.
the worst.
So with glass, there is the carafe and the cage.
Yeah.
Where with the stainless steel, this is a good point.
Unless you're
That's
using
one.
an Espro. Because if you're using an
Espro
Espro, then
solves
you want to
problem.
do that. And that is something that I think is worth saying too, which is that I really like stainless steel, but as Igor was saying, there's something really awesome about being able to see the process of brewing, and King Zhao was saying that the glass is really nice. So see, like, I mean, this is just like beautiful. It just looks awesome.
It's pain in the ass to clean, but it's beautiful.
But it looks really, really cool.
So this is like, you see they have copper, stainless steel, and plastic cage.
Yeah. So it's, there's a lot of different options. So I like having a glass one. I use a stainless steel. I use a Sterling Pro a lot, but I really like having a solid glass one like an Espro. I cannot overstate that enough. Hi, Jose Javier Rivera Benitez. Hello, how are you? Good videos, by the way. Is the coffee flavor tend to be more clear or light when it is served right in the cup? That is something I feel often since I just starting in French press coffee. Yes, that's a good question. So really the question here is the coffee going to be more light if you pour from your French press immediately after brewing versus letting it sit in the French press for a little while?
Yeah, and the reason why, again, simple. With the classic French press, which has this regular mesh filter, remember there is the holes, and even if you pressed it, yes, you did separate the big coffee grounds from water, but they still in contact with the coffee on the bottom and water on the top, or coffee, I would say, on the top.
Yeah.
It's still in contact with the coffee on the bottom,
Yeah.
and it's still extracting. So that's what adds the bitterness to your coffee. Also, if you have large holes in your mesh filter, which
A lot of French presses
yeah,
do.
they do. The small particles, they're not grounds, but the small particles, they go through this filter and they still in the liquid. Guess what they do? They still extracting.
Yeah.
That's why we were talking about microfiltering, where like freeling, it has additional filter. It's on macro level, so it's get those particles out. So what it does, it stabilize your coffee after you pressed it.
Right.
So your coffee taste, your coffee gonna taste different after it's gonna stay here for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It will get bitter.
Yeah.
Not like insane bitter, but it will be bitter in comparison to if you pour right away.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned, the Espro or AeroPress are solving those problems, because with AeroPress, you brew your coffee, you press it, your coffee in the cup, there is no longer contact with the coffee and coffee grounds and coffee or hot water, no longer in contact. And same thing with Espro. The bottom chamber, right there, this will prevent, once you press it, this works like a cap. So once you press it, it separates the coffee grounds, keep them on the bottom. They're no longer in contact with the liquid on the top. And again, the Espro serve macro filtration. So I hope I explained this.
Yeah, and that's a good way to go into what Inquisitive Wolf is saying. I've heard the Espro is hard to clean. Is there any significant difference with cleaning compared to a conventional press? Not really. I mean, it's...
I would say cleaning French press is...
kind of rough no matter what. Which is why you need a FrenchPressCoffee.com paddle. Because it's just kind of hard. I mean, the only thing that makes it harder in an Espro is maybe just the fact that now you've got two filters that you need to clean.
I don't think it's harder to clean Espro. I think it's not easy to clean any French press.
Yeah, it's true. It's just not.
So to me, it doesn't matter if I clean Espro or I clean this.
Yeah. It's just kind of the same.
Yeah.
There's going to be coffee grounds and things to clean up and a little extra water used and all that other kind of stuff. I'm sure that the next innovations we will see will someday be the... I mean, if you want to talk about the easiest to clean press...
Yeah, it's AeroPress.
It's the AeroPress.
Yeah.
Because it's like a coffee cannon when you're done. It's literally like a coffee cannon. I mean, when you're pressed, this one's hard to push right now because there's no liquid in it. But once you press down to about here, you take off the bottom and you go like this. You just basically fire out all the coffee and clean this really quick. So the easiest to clean press on the planet is the AeroPress for sure.
Yeah, so this is the... is that micro or macro filtration?
Micro.
Micro.
Micro and standard.
But proper way to say micro.
Oh, yes, micro.
Yeah, so this is what Freeling introduced, that additional filter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like two stage filters, like Sterling Pro have. They have two of those filters. But if you look, I don't know how many micron is this hole. Yeah, so you have two of those.
But these are both the same.
There is
Stacked
the
up.
huge difference between two of those or one of those and microfilter.
Yeah.
It does make huge difference,
Yeah.
believe me.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Especially after you press it.
Jose was asking electric French press. So we had one of those
Don't
once.
waste your money.
Don't bother. It was who made it?
Bottom.
Bodum. Yeah, Bodum made it. So it was interesting because it was basically like it was like a coffee machine, but you had your press and then you had your coffee, and it was kind of automated, but I just didn't see
The idea was that basically you press the button or you set a timer and
you just walk away.
Yeah, walk away. But let's face it, guys. Those presses, as with any electric device, they have plastic. Like those Keurig and other machines, I don't know why people are buying them in the first place. Because your water, hot water, gonna stay in plastic all the time. Just think about it.
Yeah.
And the cheapest machine is more plastic in it. That's why those high-end espresso machines, they cost like 500 at least and more, because they use the metal in it. You don't want your consumer to drink plastic all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about your money, I mean, yeah, you can pay $100 for this automated thing, but I would put $100 into stainless steel. There is not going to be plastic. Yeah, I'm going to spend 6 minutes every morning to make my coffee. Again, 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Really? Does that make huge difference?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's because at that point, if you're going to get something, and there really aren't many of these automated French presses, but if you were going to get that, you might as well go back to drip or single serve, and that just doesn't, it's not going to give you a superior cup of coffee. So yeah. And then King Hazard was actually asking, since coffee cools rather quickly and I refuse to reheat, are there any smaller either Espro or stainless steel press pots as single serve? Well, yeah, AeroPress,
They
Freeling,
really have like 8 ounce.
and 8 ounces is like, it's like a baby French press. It's so small. There you go. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bodum has some really great ones.
But that's for like, think about the mug. If you need like 8 ounce, again, I would buy 18 ounce French press, because this is like, it's like half of the cup.
Or maybe you could also use something like a clever dripper at that point if you need to make just that little bit of coffee. You get a clever dripper, which we don't have one easily accessible, but we've talked about the clever dripper before, where it's a pour over, but it's a pour over that allows you to pour your water in, let it brew, then set the dripper on top of the mug, and the coffee falls into it. It's kind of like a weird mashup of an AeroPress and a French press and a pour over. It's kind of cool. So you could experiment with something like that.
And let's do a couple of more questions, and let's round up.
Yeah, we're coming up on the end. Wow, we've been doing this a while already. Thanks, guys. Jose was saying, mine is a Mr. Coffee 500 milliliter with a one single filter and started using fine grind, so the flavor improved many times. Yeah, and probably one of the reasons you saw that, Jose, was that if you were using the fine grind, you may not have, I don't know if you were with us earlier, but the fine grind is going to extract more quickly, so you're going to get more flavor out of it, but just keep in mind that that could be very strong depending. It is small, but that is true, not a superior coffee. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, again, if you need to use something small to make a quick cup of coffee just for yourself, there's nothing, like, I wouldn't make a whole 44 ounce Freeling French press of coffee just for me, because if I drink 44 ounces of coffee, I might explode. Yeah, this is friends, or, you know, if you live in a household that drinks a lot. Yeah. But there are definitely options that keep you from having to go with just like a single serve pod or something like that, so you can really get good coffee. Yeah, and Jose says, now I use coarse, no problem. Yeah, I mean, just use what makes sense to you. Again, it's all about you getting the best cup of coffee in the long run. Anything we say is just because, you know, we found certain things to work, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's perfect. Obviously.
Yeah, like I said, those gold standards were developed to give you good results. It's always a good idea to be stable, so you know your targets, you know your numbers, and that's how you get your results.
And so, King Hazard was asking, how do you load the Espro? It's really just like any other French press. Measure your coffee and etc. Pour it into there.
A cup of coffee.
Yeah, and if you look back in the live video, you'll see the one that we did brew. But just basically load up with your grounds.
Same as the French press.
Yeah, nothing different. It's just that you have that different brew or extraction press process that makes, you know, a big difference there.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think we've got all the questions. We've covered a whole heck of a lot of things. I've drank a decent amount of coffee from my First Lady mug.
Yeah, so let's round up. I think, again, what we were trying to share with you guys is 4 foundation of making best cup of coffee. And let's rewind them very quick. So number 1 is the grind. It is very important. And grind and the brew time, they are connected. The more fine grind, less brew time it requires. So number 2 is water to coffee ratio. So know your numbers. They are very important. Water temperature, also very important, because it's going to affect your your extraction. It's gonna affect your the brew time as well. So let me give you a just simple example. Let's say I have a coffee, and I make the French press coffee, and it tastes bitter to me
Or burnt.
or burnt.
Yeah.
So what is my option? So what you can do is, number one, to minimize the bitterness, you can decrease the brew time, right? So if you taste your coffee, it tastes bitter or over extracted, you can go from 4 minutes to 3 minutes. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is you can stay in 4 minutes, but you can decrease your water temperature. So let's say you just pour your hot water right out of, after it was boiled or while it's boiling. Wait 3 minutes before you pour. Let the temperature drop to 195 and brew for 4 minutes. It's going to affect your coffee. It's going to be less bitter as well.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there is those foundation, those simple things you can do and tweak your coffee. But start with the simple stuff. Like if you do French press coffee, you're gonna grind your coffee within about like 1600 microns. And we've talked about it, how you can achieve that. Brew time 4 minutes. Start from there. When you do pour over coffee, your brew time is about 2 minutes. Why? Because you're gonna target less coarse grind. We're talking about, like, I would say 700 microns.
Yeah.
That's why 2 minutes. And then when you go to espresso, where you going like for 300, 350, 400 microns or whatever, then your brew time is about 30 seconds. Got that? So that's how simple it is. Know your numbers, know your grind. If you're gonna know your grind size, you will know your brew time or extraction time. You will know your water temperature. You will know all those variables. As the result, you will get perfect cup of coffee every time.
Yeah.
So I think we should round up on that.
Yeah.
I hope we
Grind,
give our
time, temp are huge. Your grind, your time, your temp are all going to make a really big difference. And then your ratio, your water to coffee ratio. That's really it. Everything else is all just getting really finicky, which we like to do. Brandon, thanks for tuning in, and glad the recap helped you out. Thank you so much. Jose, yes, please check out the Espro presses. We've got them at FrenchPressCoffee.com, and we got a bunch of reviews about them all over our channel. And I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, again,
King Hassel, steak
like the steak analogy. All right, see, you're in good company, King Hassel. And we appreciate you being so active. It really means a lot. And thank you for commenting, you guys. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to share any of our other videos around social media or with other friends if you know anyone who just needs to know a little bit more about French press coffee. And like we always say, if you guys have, and if you guys have questions or anything that you want to cover, just get in touch with us, get us on the website, get us on social media, let us know what you are looking to get help with and how we can help, because that's what we do. So I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's
all right.
it. So
Thank you guys. Thank you. I'm Brian with French Press Coffee. This is Igor. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we're going to see you again soon. We'll be doing this again soon. So have a good day. Thanks.
Bye, guys. So let's do